this is I don't know where to start other than
let's
lay
start
out the facts.
Yeah. Can you lay out the facts, and then let's just say before we lay out the facts quickly, we talked about Super League, in college sports.
Yes.
During the off season, it was kind of a joke. You and I
Stupid,
made our Super
fun,
League conferences.
Off-season content. Yeah.
We knew this was coming. This had to come. I think they may have listened and said, "That's a pretty good idea. Let's make a super conference."
Word on Wednesday comes out that just where did this originally leak? I don't. It was the Houston Chronicle,
I think
right?
so.
Like it was just like
it was like a report.
Yeah, it was a report that people. I don't know who the shams and woes are of college sports, but the report comes out that Texas and Oklahoma are actively trying to leave the Big 12 to join the SEC, and I saw a lot of the blue checks that I follow on social media were saying, "Now hang on a second, like this is we can't confirm this. This is just all speculative, whatever. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna get to the bottom of this. Let's just call Texas, ask him, Texas. Listen, so there. I know this is stupid, Texas, but there's this crazy report out there that you guys are actively, you and Oklahoma are in cahoots. You're trying to leave the Big 12 and join the SEC. That's dumb, right? And Texas is like, no comment.
No. Texas said speculation always swirls around college athletics.
Yes.
We will not address rumors or speculation, which basically says, yes, we were having conversations.
And then everyone's like, Texas,
we're sorry.
Can you just say just for my? I already have the story written. I just want to plug in your quote.
Yeah.
Can you just say you're not trying to join the SEC? So I can just plug in and be like, we talked to Texas. They said they're not joining. Just say the words Texas, and they go, speculation and rumors. And you're like, wait a second.
And
what's
then
going on
Oklahoma
here?
said college athletics landscape is shifting constantly. We don't address every anonymous rumor. Not every anonymous rumor, but one is shifting, one is swirling.
Yes.
Regardless, something's in the air. You know what I mean? They did not say no. They did not say this is not happening. They just said something's in the air. We don't know what it is.
And as you learned
chaos.
from when we did the Brad Stevens podcast, when somebody does not say no, Tate and I take it as a yes.
Oh,
so
of course.
We are now,
in life, if someone does not say no to you, you have to understand that there's probably layers to that. And it's probably
that's a yes. So Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC. Obviously, this is a decision that when this does happen, because I do, by the way, I talked myself into this is definitely happening because the new development was that Texas and Oklahoma have said that when their media rights expire in 2025 with the Big 12, they're not re-upping.
Because they try to get them to sign an extension, I think, to 2030.
They're like, we're not doing that. Yeah. No, not happening.
Longhorn Network did not go over well with Texas. Yeah.
So I think the writing's on the wall. This is happening. I think Texas and Oklahoma are going to the SEC, which is
By the way, Schlabach is the one that was reporting this story on ESPN.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is Schlabach exclusive.
Release the tape, Mark.
Yes, come on.
Please.
He's done it again.
One time for the people. Release the tape.
June 30th, 2025 is the date when it would all end and they could be officially out of their deal.
Wow. So it's a decision driven by football, which is always fascinating because you and I don't care about football quite as much, even though we both, as you said when we sat down to do the show, we both graduated from football school, as you can argue.
Yeah.
I went to Ohio State. You went to North Carolina football school.
Heisman.
Football school, North Carolina.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor. Look it up. I mean, don't get mad at me that he invented the sack. Jim, you're a fan of the Giants. You know Lawrence Taylor.
Of course.
Okay, good. Good to know. Bill Belichick coached him back then. You know that?
Yeah, I knew that.
Jim used to be the producer on GM Street. He's like, yeah, I heard you and Lombardi talk about it all the time. Wish you'd shut up. 40 minutes.
It's true. 35.
Texas, if Texas and Oklahoma do go to the SEC, which is probably going to happen in 2025, this is it for the Big 12. That's it. The Big 12 already has 10 teams. This would put them back to 8, which, funny enough, like that's how the Big 12
8
started. It was the Big 8.
Yeah.
And
that's what I hope they lean into.
The Big 8, the Big 12 was when Arkansas in 1990 joined the SEC, and then the Texas schools joined the, you know what I mean? So it's kind of coming full circle that teams leaving to go to the SEC is going to be the death of it. They're going to go back to, but they're not going to do that because the writing is on the wall beyond Texas and Oklahoma leaving to join the SEC. Then the next domino is that it is just going to be a slow grind. Maybe not that slow. Maybe it'll go fast. To 4 super conferences. Isn't that where we're headed?
Yes.
We're headed to 4 super conferences, which is insane. It's insane. I really feel like this is going to be more dramatic of a shifting than even what we got 10 years ago when that was like absolutely insane to look up and see the Big East get imploded and all that, because all the Big 12 is going to be done. The Big 12's done, and then Baylor is going to end up being Baylor's the UConn, by the way, because all these decisions are driven by football. Baylor just won the title. If you're a Baylor fan, you're saying to yourself, we'll be all right. Surely we'll be all right. We just won a basketball title. Robert Griffin played football here. That matters, right? We're going to be all right. We'll be fine. And
UConn, Washington fans or Knicks fans? Who celebrates their one lone playoff thing more?
And UConn is cackling at that train of thought because they're like, when we had won 4 titles, and we had won 3 at the time, and the Big East imploded, we were just left holding our you-know-what as everyone scurried off to the ACC and whatever. That seems to be where Baylor's headed, which is preposterous. Like, this is horrible news. Texas going to the SEC is horrible news for Scott Drew.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you said it, though. I think we're getting to a point where there's going to be a Southern Conference, which there used to be a Southern Conference filled with North Carolina and all these teams. So I think there's
still is a Southern Conference.
Yeah. I mean, not the. I'm saying we're going to take that name back and we're going to make a super Southern Conference. We're going to make
super Southern.
We're going to make a Power 4, like you said. I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to be Southern. It's going to be Northeastern. It's going to be Midwestern. It's going to be Western. You know what I mean? Those are our 4 branches. We're going to have the top schools. And maybe they play up to get in those conferences.
College sports are going to be the Little League World Series.
Literally. And no one's even going to understand. They're like, where's this team from again? Right. Maryland's like weirdly in the middle. They don't know where they stand.
The college football title game, Curacao is playing. And you're like, what the hell? How did this happen? There's a team from Mexico City.
I mean, it could happen.
What is this?
Yeah, it could happen. But in general, I think the best thing, you talk about the Big 12 imploding, the best thing that can happen is Kansas pulls the Villanova, which is they hold. I think
hold
the door. Hold the door. Like, Hodor goes back, and that's Kansas. And that's Bill Self.
Hold.
Yes. And I think that's what they do, and they just stay here, and Baylor stays as well. And I think the Big 8 can survive. I don't know where
Houston?
I mean, exactly. I don't know where they fall, but I think you try to poach some of the maybe SMU. You bring in maybe Memphis, and you get back to the Big 12. But
get Houston, SMU, Memphis.
Yeah.
And then who else you throwing in there from the American?
East Carolina.
Tulane. Wichita State.
Yeah, Wichita State. That could be good. But you basically, I think you hold down, because Villanova, when they did that, they go on to become a superpower and basically the team in the Big East. They already have the name recognition of the Big East. You already have the Big 12. You could hold and just not make as much money and still be top dogs, especially Baylor. Now Kansas, you're like, hey, I'm a football school. Get Texas out of here. We thrive away from that. But I'm afraid, like you said, once it happens, the ACC starts calling, the Big Ten starts calling, the Pac-12 starts calling.
I think
the Pac-12 might call Baylor.
I think anything's on the table. If you name it, like,
isn't there a show in Waco that's like on, one of the HGTV or whatever? Like that seems like the West Coast would know
Chip
about.
and Joanna, right?
Aren't they
the Baylor people?
I don't know, but I'm just saying the West Coast people know Baylor. They know Waco. So the Pac-12 reaches out.
I don't necessarily follow, but I like.
No, that's what happens. The West Coast, they say we're going.
Dude, it's on the table. I think that's what's so funny about this was that in 1990 when Arkansas was the SEC took Arkansas,
the Southwestern Conference.
Southwest Conference imploded. Texas was in the Southwest Conference, and the reason, the way I've always heard it, and I could be wrong. I'm just one idiot that has a microphone in front of him. I don't know. Yeah. You're free to disagree. It's a free country, but the way I always heard it was that Texas was like kind of a non-starter to go into the SEC because it made a lot of sense back then for Texas to go to the SEC. For all the reasons it makes sense now that they're a football school still technically ish, but they certainly were more in 1990.
Yeah.
The money makes sense, like all of the same reasons that made sense now. But was the non-starter, Tate, was the politics. That Texas and the South didn't necessarily mix. The people of Texas like, we don't want anything to do with those rednecks. The rednecks were like, we don't want anything to do with those Cowboys. Keep them out of here, whatever.
Yeah. That's the Western-Eastern rivalry there.
So like I've kind of always worked under the assumption that that's oil and water. And like, come on, Texas couldn't go to that. Like, even
Texas is looking at Texas A&M and they say,
like, we
want that money.
Yeah, we want that.
That should be our money.
So what I'm saying is, if Texas goes to SEC, get out of my face with any sort of like logical that could never Baylor in the Pac-12. Come on, how would that make? Doesn't matter. That's modern college sports. It doesn't have to make any sense. Put Duke in the Pac-12.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean,
like it could happen.
The Big Ten is going to call Kansas. The ACC is going to call Kansas. I mean, like that is right in the realm of possibility. And I think if you're like I said, if you're Kansas, you pull a Villanova, you hold, you say this is our conference. We're going to be a football school now. Baylor can help us in football.
I think the exact opposite is true.
Hold. Don't do it. Don't
I think
lead.
the exact opposite is true because
We used to call the Big
if you're
12
Kansas-
the Kansas Conference.
I
You
know,
what
but
I mean?
Kansas is going to be UConn is what's going to happen. They're going to be stuck. They're going to hold themselves. They're going to be just sitting there holding, and they're going to be on an island because no one wants them. So if you're Kansas, you have to see the writing on the wall, which is that all anyone cares about is football. Your football program blows.
Yeah.
You have to con someone into taking you before it's too late, and you look up and you're in the American. And now you're playing Wichita State, a team that you want to know part of and beat you in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is stupid. Get what's going on here? Now all of a sudden they're your conference foes.
I think you call Memphis, you call SMU,
Yeah.
call Wichita State. You try to keep the Big 12 alive. You
I-
try. Memphis has a good football
I don't
program
think that's going to happen.
sometimes.
I understand like your reasoning. I don't
Yeah.
think that's going to happen at all. I think the exact opposite is going to happen. That it's going to be a free for all. Everyone's going to turn. It's going to be a Mexican standoff of pointing gun. Like Baylor and Kansas are both at the
I
table.
mean,
Iowa
Alabama,
State's like,
Texas is going to be brutal for Texas for a few years. You know what I mean? Like Texas doesn't want to go to the SEC in football. I mean, they're gonna.
that's confusing to me too.
Yeah, I don't know why.
You run the Big 12.
Yeah, you
Texas
own it.
run,
You
Texas
in
has the-
Oklahoma. Now
yeah.
you're one of the many. And now,
Yeah.
now, if I'm Greg Sankey, who is the commissioner of the SEC, he is the one that really can stop this. You know,
He's not going to.
I know, but
Why would
you're
he want-
building
why
the
would he want to?
Titanic. You're building the Titanic, and you know how this ends. You know that it's going to lead. You're going to have 16 teams,
Yeah.
which means that one year Florida's going to finish 16th.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
great.
all
Go
the-
on. I'm
No,
almost
I'm
there. Keep
just
going.
saying, yeah. I'm
This is
saying
great. Yes,
these
continue.
Gatorade, Gainesville, Florida fans that are used to being, 1 or 2 in the SEC basketball standings and winning national championships, now they're a forgotten
they
afterthought
lost to-
behind Oklahoma,
they lost
who
to a
also
15
is a
seed,
Jordan
too.
school that's now going to be taking away from them. I mean, if I can't imagine the member schools voting for this as a win, unless they're really just like, I could care less. I really just want the money.
They're gonna.
Which I guess they
that's
do
what
just
they're
want the
gonna
money.
do, dude.
Yeah.
They're if Texas and Oklahoma and in the
Idiots.
minds of the SEC,
Idiots.
if Texas and Oklahoma join the SEC, they are the only conference that matters.
Yeah.
No one else has to watch any other conference or care about any other conference.
Except for the ACC and Mac Brown. But yeah, Clemson.
But no, that's what the SEC thinks is that no one's gonna care.
Should the Big Ten and the ACC just merge and make like?
That's what Jim Delaney wanted. Jim Delaney
Yeah.
wanted to have every power team in the Big Ten and then divvy them up with sub-conferences that were just already like Alabama's in the
it's
Big
the
Ten.
Big Ten, but it's the
with
Big
SEC
Ten
division.
sub-conferences. You know what
It's
I mean?
the SEC
That's what the Big
division.
Ten stands for. It's
Yeah.
not teams. It's like different conferences within the conference.
Yes,
My
that's
God.
what Jim Delaney wanted. I
Manifest
think
Delaney.
dominoes that are going to fall is the Big 12 is going to dissolve because I envision they're not going to come together. They're not going to circle the wagon. The
They're
remaining
meeting right now as we speak.
the remaining 8
Yeah.
teams are not going to circle the wagons. They are going to do the exact opposite. They're going to be taking Kansas is on the phone with every single conference saying, please, for the love of God, do something. Iowa State's like, we can be a Big Ten school. And the Big Ten's like, we're trying to expand media markets. You do nothing for us, Iowa State. And Iowa State's like, yeah, but we have a lot of corn. What about that? Isn't that a Big Ten thing? I envision that. I envision all these schools are going to turn on each other.
Yeah.
Kansas to the Big Ten would be amazing. I would love that so much. That makes a lot of sense.
That would be
But
bad
then
for the Big Ten.
But then the Big Ten's got to add another one, which I think this if all this starts happening, I think the Notre Dame domino might fall, and I think Big Ten might go all in on Notre Dame, and Notre Dame might have to say yes because I think you might look at the landscape and be like, all right, this is how the way the playoffs going to work. Where they're like, I know they're going to have more berths, so like Notre Dame, but who's going to play Notre Dame if we have all these super conferences?
Yeah.
What's the incentive to play Notre Dame in football? If you're one of these, if
Yeah.
you're-
Why risk it?
why would you go play like
Yeah.
if you're in a conference with like 1,000 teams already that are all really good and you could just play those and win your like you don't need Notre Dame and Notre Dame's going to be left there
Yeah.
like so they're going to have to join a conference, right? And why would you join the ACC if you're Notre Dame? That doesn't make sense either. Join the Big Ten. Everyone already hates
They're
you.
already in the pool with the ACC. You know what I mean? But I could see them being very
But they don't-
shisty and
doesn't-
deciding last minute
Yeah.
to go to the Big Ten. I mean, that would make a lot of sense to me. But if I'm the ACC, I'm calling Texas and I'm calling Oklahoma and I'm saying, we have great academics here. We literally, we will dominate the SEC.
Yeah.
And then they're like, what?
And then you say, why are you laughing? And then you're like, what?
Can you guys hear me on the other end? Are you guys listening? Hello? Hello? I mean, yeah. Texas to me, at least is a school that has academic integrity. So
Yeah.
I could see them scoffing a bit at the SEC, but then you have Vanderbilts, you have Georgias, you know, Florida's an okay school. I mean, you have.
They have good schools in the SEC.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
They're good
Yeah,
schools.
yeah.
It's not the Big Ten. I mean,
It's
the
not
Big
the
Ten is
ACC.
the premier.
I mean, it's not
would
public
say-
Ivies.
I would say, yeah, the Big Ten is the premier
No.
academic power. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what they say.
It's actually the Pac-12. But
yeah, I know. But that's the best part. Whenever they had, remember like they had like the Capital Cup, you know, like the Capital One Cup, and for whatever reason I wanted to win that at the ESPYs, and I would go into it, and I was like, we need to win this. You know what I'm saying? We gotta win this.
It's the one guy watching.
I'm like, we gotta win this. And then it would always be Stanford. I'm like, this is unfair. This is unfair. Hey there, thanks for watching Titus and Tate. For the full friend of the program experience, subscribe right below and come join us for all things college basketball. The action is heating up. Come join Titus and Tate.